Hello dolls, and welcome back to another video, and happy Halloween to all of you. Today I want to bring you 5 1960s inspired Halloween costumes ideas, as well as a Halloween inspired makeup look. Just to quickly clarify, these are not 60s costumes as in a way of dressing up as a hippie or something. These are popular costumes from the 1960s. Costumes that were popular among the people that actually lived during the decade. So get comfortable, get ready for spooky season, and to decide what you want to be for Halloween this year. If I'm being honest, I don't know if I'm gonna hold through this entire thing with these teeth. They make talking a little hard, but they're so much fun. I'm gonna try to keep them in for as long as possible. To be fully honest, I did the way more exciting Halloween makeup yesterday. There's a picture of that. But I filmed it for you, and I just quickly wanted to rewind and share how I did this because I feel like this is such a great look if you want to go for like a witch or something. It's just for the looks that I want to show you today. I feel like not for all of them this makeup would have worked, so I did something a little more subtle. But if you want to go all out on the 1960s witch, this is great. This is actually inspired by Lily Munster of The Munsters, which was a very popular TV show in the 1960s. Yeah. So what I did for this look, I started with some primer, and here's my biggest tip. If you do these like twiggy lashes, basically if you plan on drawing anything below or on your eyes, use a lot of primer in that area, and then also an eyeshadow base. And then I powdered it all down. I basically used some foundation, and then I used this powder. This is a loose setting powder, and what I like about it is the fact that it isn't colored, it's just white. So I used a little more to make me a little extra pale because I feel like that's fun for Halloween. The next thing that I did, I used this, which is like this matte kind of like smooth lipstick and care thing, but I also like to use this for blush, and I like that it's just this like very classic red color, and I only did the tiniest bit because I didn't want it to be overpowering. And I also actually did this under the powder to just have it be a lot more subtle. Now on to what makes this look so special. I started with some white eyeshadow. I used this one, it's by Mary Quant, but you can use whatever you want, and I didn't do too much of it. I didn't really do it that heavily. I just kind of like put it on and smudged it out. I feel like for a matte look I would have gone a lot more pigmented, but I just wanted it to be a little base for what was about to come. Obviously the thing that really makes this look are the eyes, so I decided to do a combination of 2 eyeliners. A classic felt tip one, because I do like that one a lot actually for the lower lashes, and then also for like the eyeliner on top. But for like the graphic part, especially on the inner corner of my eyes, I like to use these kinds. They come in little pots, and I just use a tiny little brush with it, and it really helped drawing on that like lower inner corner. So basically I started by doing a regular eyeliner, and what I did is I took it a lot further out than what I usually would do, so it is longer, and usually I always go a little further down. It just kind of makes the eyes a little rounder, which works well for a 60s shape, but I went all the way out. And then I used that little brush. Usually I go a little thinner towards the inner corner of my eyes with my eyeliner, but I kept it really thick there because then I drew it down and actually lower than what my natural crease would be. It's kind of hard to explain, but you will see it here, and that gives you that shape. And then I just used eyeliner to kind of like put an eyeliner underneath my lower lash line, and then when I reached the outer corner of my eye, I just drew it all the way out to the wing, but then I also added another little wing underneath that. And then I started drawing on these lower lashes, and they seem intimidating, trust me, I know, but here are a couple of tips on how that just gets a lot easier. So the first thing that you want to do with your mirror is to hold your mirror above you. So I will hold mine kind of like this and not like this, because if you do this, your eyes definitely go down a little further, and if you do this, it helps kind of like stretching out the skin underneath your eyes. I also always try to like pull my skin a little like this and then put it on, and I usually go very, very light at first. The only thing when you pull it is you have to be careful because it messes with like the direction. So if I pull a little like this, then it's not going to be straight. So I try to go like this, look up, draw it on, and it is most likely not gonna go in like all the little creases, but I just draw it on even though it is a little spotty, because as soon as you have like the general shape, I like to go in with this and then the pot eyeliner again. This is also a lot more pigmented, And I will just go above it and make them all thick, make sure that they're very nicely pigmented. I also always want to make sure that they're a little thicker towards my eye, and then they go out and come down very thin. And that is basically it. I feel like it is way more easy when you see this than me describing it, but I hope that this little tutorial helped you. And then the last thing that I did is some red lipstick. This is very unusual for me, but it actually was quite popular in the 60s, still coming from the 50s. I went with this liquid one from Sephora. I've had it for a couple of years and it's just really good because it doesn't really stain anything. So now that you have your 1960s makeup ready, let's talk a little about costumes. One of the most popular costumes, even prior to the 1960s, was the classic witch. And so I decided that the witch needed to be part of this video. I did a witch look yesterday. Here are some pictures. So you can definitely go a more modern 1960s witch, but many people adored the classic witch. So for this, I decided to go with this dress. This is from my grandma from the 70s, but this could definitely be seen in the late 60s. It's kind of like a cape dress, beautiful black maxi dress, and I think it is so perfect. It is important to know that in the 1960s, a lot of people made do of what they had. So any sort of black dress basically worked for this. For shoes, many would raid their parents' closets, where they might have found something like these. These are boots from the 1920s or 30s. I'm not too sure, and my cobbler isn't either. But they're just lace-up boots, and I feel like these are just perfect for a witchy style. I really love them. They have a nice little heel, but any black kind of shoe would do for this. To make this look even more magical, I added this really nice little necklace. In the late 1960s with the medieval revival, a lot of these styles came back into fashion, and I thought it was a special little something. And it also works really well with the dress because it is kind of like higher cut. And then obviously you're not a witch without the classic hat. I also got this one at a costume shop, and trust me, I would have loved to get this steamed, but this was like the only one that they had that was also relatively cheap, and I wanted one that really nicely held its shape because that's just popular with 1960s styles. Yeah, there's nothing too special. Just a classic little witchy hat, but I actually really like it. I feel like this is a very fun look. Let's continue with a look that's probably not among the list of very popular 1960s costumes, but it is definitely what I would have done if I was a kid in the 60s, and I will also do it nowadays. It is what I am wearing right now. A 1960s vampire. So this look is inspired by a couple of things. As said in my recent video, which I'm just gonna link here again, where I basically talked about all things 1960s Halloween, there was a rise in horror films and just like vampire films in general. And one of my all-time favorite vampire films is The Fearless Vampire Killers. It's a Roman Polanski movie. It's a movie that brought Sharon Tate a lot of fame, and it's the movie where the two of them met. And Sharon plays this girl who basically gets kidnapped by a vampire and turned into a vampire by him. And she wears this beautiful red gown, which I unfortunately don't have a gown like this because this movie is not set in the 60s. I thought I could just put a 60s spin on it. So I went with this red velvet dress, which is actually with this kind of style up here, kind of close to what Roman Polanski would wear on his wedding to Sharon. And then for my hair, I did something inspired by what she was doing, where I just put it up a little. And then obviously a key element to this look are the teeth. I also got these at a costume shop, and they're just put in with a little bit of wax. It holds surprisingly well, and I can talk surprisingly well with it. And I feel like this is such a cool and special kind of look. Most people will probably not get the Fearless Vampire Killer Sharon Tate stretch, but it's still a fun little 1960s vampire look. I honestly feel like if you do this, most people will associate it with Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, but that's a fun movie too, so why not? Trust me, this next look is the easiest 1960s inspired Halloween outfit one can do, because all you need is this, and I'm gonna show you and tell you how exactly you can make this. So as said, paper masks, plastic masks, it was all very popular in the 1960s, and a popular choice was the black cat. I have this one. I just found this online and I'm gonna try to link it. Basically all I did was print that out, and then I stuck it on a little bit of cardboard. I cut it out and added a bit of elastic to it, and that is it. Honestly, this is so easy and you're done. You don't see, you could potentially cut out the eyes now if that was up to you, or you just kind of like wear it like this. But I really like this, and if you have this, all you really need is a black outfit. So I decided to just go with a very classic little 60s look. This black turtleneck. As said, I also just wanted to use pieces I already have. The only two things that I bought were the witch's head and the teeth. But yeah, that probably came out to a total of like $7 or something. Black little turtleneck, but basically any black look would do. I tried to make my hair a little messier, and this definitely also would call for a dramatic cat eye if you want to do that. And then I also added these little black earrings just because I had them and I thought they would kind of work really well with the look. Catwoman started to become really popular in the mid-60s after being part of the Batman TV show. And so if you have like a black catsuit, that works even better. Then I went with these black little disco shorts because they're just fun, and I like, if I do monochromatic outfits, I just like to give them different textures. A pair of classic little black tights. I also added a belt because the 1960s Catwoman was wearing a belt, and I also thought it just added to the look. And obviously a pair of black boots. I feel like you could add some sort of tail to it. That could be a really easy craft project too. And then I also found this. This is actually like a scarf. You have this bit down here, and then you can just kind of like loop this part through. I'm so bad at explaining this right now, but then it sits like this, so that is fun. But I just kind of like wore it around my shoulders, and I really like that. It just kind of like adds the furry texture to the look. This next look is very easy, and it is modeled after one of my favorite horror films, Rosemary's Baby. This too is a Roman Polanski film. It is disturbing, I'm just gonna say that. I personally do prefer these kind of horror films over the modern ones where it's just like so much blood, so horrific. These give me nightmares. Rosemary's Baby did too for a little while, but it's just a cinematic masterpiece. I don't want to disturb anyone, so I'm not gonna go too much into the details right now, but Mia Farrow plays the lead in playing Rosemary, a pregnant lady, and a big part of the movie, she is just in a blue little nightgown. So if you have any sort of vintage nightgown, I actually have this blue one. A long-sleeved one would also work really well, but I feel like any sort of vintage nightgown would work for this look. Because you're most likely gonna leave the house if you dress up for Halloween, I just decided to add these. These are some velvet ballet flats, but they also kind of look like slippers, so I thought that that worked really well. And then the one thing that'll make this a Rosemary's Baby outfit and not just a regular person in a vintage nightgown is you have to carry a big knife. So if you actually want to go somewhere with this look, please don't do what I do. Just don't use a regular kitchen knife. Go to a thrift store, get any sort of knife, and just unsharpen it. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is by just kind of like beating it on some sort of like concrete ground. Don't do this indoors. You could just do this on the street, and you just have to like hit it on the ground a couple of times, but then it'll make it a lot duller. You could also just use some sort of like sander or something. Just please don't go out with a sharp kitchen knife. That is dangerous. Oh, you could also just go to the Halloween store and just get a fake knife. That would be an easy solution too. I want to end this with a look from the 1960s Addams Family TV show. After its comeback last year on Netflix, I feel like a lot of people now know the Addams Family, but it originated in the 60s with a TV show. And there was a little girl playing Wednesday Addams. I'm gonna put up a picture of her right here. And she kind of like wore this black dress with a shirt underneath. So I went with a white blouse. And then I also added, I unfortunately don't have a black dress like that. I would love one with the buttons in the front. That's so beautiful. So I just went with a black pinafore dress. I also added some black tights and black ankle boots. And I feel like the key element of this outfit is definitely the hairstyle. So all you gotta do is to braid your hair in two classic braids. If you don't have bangs, that's even better. If you have bangs, I feel like that's fine too. But honestly, this is a really low effort, easy costume, but it was a pretty popular one in the 1960s. And what I particularly love, a lot of people dressed up as the entire Addams family. That would be such a fun family or group costume. That's it. That ends all the Halloween shenanigans of this year for me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you're dressing up as for Halloween. And also if you maybe got inspired by this, you can always tag me in your pictures on Instagram. I would love to know what you ended up going as. If you enjoyed the video, I would love you to give it a thumbs up and maybe even share it with a friend. It supports me, it supports the channel, and it would truly mean the world. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween night. Go out, enjoy this spooky night, and take care of you, your mental health, by maybe watching a couple of spooky movies. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, dolls!
When she comes in the dead of the night to my window, riding a frog that she keeps in her hair.